Good afternoon, friends. How are you? I hope you are all fine. And so, what about you? I am also fine. प्रेम से बोलेंगे राधे राधे. Want to ask one question. How's the Josh? Answer should be hi, sir. Good afternoon. Hi, sir. I know you are taking classes since morning, and this is your second half. That's why I'm asking the question like, how's the Josh? Himanshu, Peldon, Sakshi, Poonam, Alekhya, Sanjala, Nupur, Shweta, Neha, Puneet, Anshuman, Gaurav, Jaishah, Atul, Anubhuti, Gajraj, Vivek, Nitin, Faisal, Manjeet, Venk, Gani, Tashi, Santosh, Jaishwal, Nitin, Sakshi. Hi, sir. That's great. That's the spirit. That's why you are IRS officers. Yes, sir. प्रेम से बोलेंगे राधे राधे. And now we are going to discuss our next point. In yesterday's class, we have discussed up to what? Yes. Up to output tax. We have discussed up to output tax. Now we are going to discuss next definitions. We are not just learning definitions, but we are concluding the whole concept with respect to definitions. Next point is outward supply. There are two words, outward and supply. First of all, tell me what is the meaning of supply? Sir, we know very well about it. Supply can be divided into two parts, with consideration, without consideration. With consideration, ABC test. Without consideration, 4 points, RBI agency. That's great. This is the meaning of supply. And what is the meaning of outward? Outward means given supply. The supply which you are giving is called as output supply. Outward supply. And outward supply giving birth to output tax, and ITC can only be utilized for the payment of output tax. You know very well about that. Come on. Supply of goods or services provided, given by supplier by any mode, either sale or transfer or barter or etc. or with consideration or without consideration. Without consideration only in selected cases. And which are the selected cases? Give me answer instantly and show me your Josh. Sir, selected cases means RBI agency. That's great. Made during the course of the business or furtherance of the business. Okay, quite soft definition, very much easy. Now, we are moving to our next definition, person. In entire GST law, you will see at multiple places the word like registered person. At multiple places, you will see the word registered person. The word person sounds like as we are talking about individual. Am I right? Person word sounds like we are talking about individual. But in reality, whether the meaning of person is limited to individual only, the answer is no. It has very wider role. Person includes an individual. Person includes a company. Person includes Lalach Ahal Lap Lap LLP. limited liability partnership. Person include OPC, one person company OPC. It includes society, it includes cooperative societies, it includes corporations, it includes HUF, it includes government department, it includes all form of business structure are covered under the word person. So wherever you read the word registered person means all, just not only limited to individual. Is it okay? Yes, sir. Okay. Now come on. The book. Person includes like company, firm, LLP, AOP, association of persons, whether incorporated or unincorporated. Government companies, foreign companies, cooperative society, central government, state government, local authority society, trust, etc. Each and everything is, every person is understood to have separate identity. Each and every are distinct person. Suppose there is a company ABC Limited and the company also create a trust. So whether trust or company both are same or both are independent. Sir, both are independent. Separate identity and separate taxable persons. For example, trust set up by company. Now company and trust both have individual identity. Okay, sir. Now next softer definition is place of business. We can say in simple wordings as our business place. Okay, yeah, business place, meaning thereby a place which is our where our business activities are carried on, like our shop, our showroom, our warehouse, our godown, or our like otherwise storage places. Whether agent's premises will also be covered in my business place, whether agent's place will also be covered in my business place. Yes, sir. Agent is and my extended arm. Agent is equal to my extended arm and nothing else, my dear. What is the logic of business places at this moment? I would like to tell you. Sir, here is UP and another state is Haryana. My business is spread in both the state. There are 3 business places in this state and there are 2 business places in Haryana. Okay, sir. Will you please tell me how many registrations we required? Sir, in Uttar Pradesh, minimum registration required by us is 1 and maximum registration can be obtained like 3. And in Haryana, minimum number of registrations is equal to 1 and maximum registration can be obtained is equal to 2. Maximum registrations are allowed as per number of place of business. So we must read the place of business. And the most important thing from your point of view, your means officer, department, most important thing is from your point of view is this: a registered person need to mention, need to declare all his business places in his registration certificate, so that an officer want to check any of the business place, he can go there. Meaning thereby, if I making supply through my agent, I need to declare my agent's place in my registration certificate, and you should be aware for that. If any taxpayer not to declare any of the business place and try to cheat you, then impose penalty under section 122. Prem se bolenge, Radhe Radhe. Sir, like one of our office is where I kept the books of account, whether that place will also be covered under our business places? The answer is yes. Places are 2 types. One is your residential place and one is your business place. So where you carried out any business activity, that place will be the business place. Sir, neighbor's house is neither your residential place nor your business place. Chup. Okay, sir. It includes a place from where business is ordinarily carried on. including warehouse, godown, etc., where the person maintain books of accounts, and a place where taxable person engaged through an agent. Is it okay? Will you please tell me? Say okay. Say okay. Instant answer. Okay, sir. Now we are going to discuss place of supply. Okay. Just simplify the wordings. The wordings is place of supply. It can be called as supply place. Yes, sir. And supply place means where supply has been occurred, means the destination of supply, meaning thereby consumption place of supply. Where is the consumption place of a supply? It is described or stated in IGST Act 2017. Section number 7 to 14 talks about what will be the consumption place of a particular supply of goods or services. Moreover, why the power is given under IGST Act? Why not in CGST or SGST Act? Because, sir, as per article number 269 capital A, this article stated central government has exclusive power to decide place of supply. That's why the provisions of place of supply is given under Section 7 to Section 14 of IGST Act. This is constitutional backup with these sections. Is it okay? Yes, sir. Okay. Come on the point. These are the soft, cute definitions just like you. Okay, sir. Come. So, place of supply means the place of supply as referred to in IGST Act, as the provisions are given under Section 7 to Section number 14. Okay. Now, the word coming in our mind is prescribed. It has no much relevance. Prescribed means prescribed by rules on the recommendation of the council. I would like to discuss you something important, my dear. Just see the structure over there. Here is myself, Rajkumar, and here is Mr. X, my senior staff, and Mr. Y, my junior staff, for conducting the coaching classes. Tell me please, first question to all of you. Why I appoint the senior staff? Sir, to support me. Okay. Why the junior staff is appointed? The work profile of the junior staff, to work for whom? To work for me, or to work for senior staff, or to work for both? Sir, to support senior staff as well as to support me. Okay. In case of a contradiction between me and my senior staff, who will prevail? Sir, obviously Rajkumar sir will prevail. And there is a contradiction between the senior staff and junior staff, who will prevail? Quite obvious, senior staff will prevail. But in case there is a contradiction between me and my junior staff, who will prevail? Obviously me will prevail. Okay, sir. In the same pattern, there is a chain of one is act, another one is rules, and third one is regulations. Why the rules are made by the central government? Rules are made by central government. Act are also made by central government, and regulations are drafted by CBIC. Okay, sir. Why the rules are framed, my dear? So rules are framed to support the act. Why the regulations are framed? Regulations are framed to support the rules and to support the act. If there is a, listen to me very, very carefully. Sir, if there is any contradiction in between act and rules, which will prevail? Act will prevail. Sir, there is a contradiction between act and regulations, which will prevail? Sir, act will prevail. There is a contradiction between the rules and regulations, which will prevail? Rules will prevail. Okay. Like act is most senior, and most senior persons talks about particular thing in a very limited words and instruct to his juniors to do the things in elaborate manner. For example, your director general want to do something, then he will dictate only 1 or 2 lines, and the junior staff will follow the instruction and do the detailed work over there. Accordingly, whenever there is a section in the act and sections said now for an example, like assessable value, section says assessable value equal to transaction value, and if transaction value is not available and reliable, then the assessable value shall be determined as per prescribed manner. Section wordings are says only up to this line. Transaction value will be assessable value, and if there is no reliability and availability of transaction value, then the value shall be determined as per prescribed manner. Prescribed by which? Sir, prescribed by rules. That means section refer the pending work to the rules. So this is the meaning of word prescribed. Are you getting my point? Please thumbs up, my dear. So whenever you see the word prescribed, meaning thereby section giving task to the rules to do further as the needful. Okay, sir. Yeah. Come on the point. This is the meaning of word prescribed. Means prescribed by rules by government on recommendation of the GST Council. First of all, GST Council, after that act, after that rules, after that regulations. This is the complete chain. Here is the recommendation of council, goes to act, act to rules, rules to regulations. Is it okay? Yes, sir. Shweta. Principle. Principle. We know very well. Here is the principle, and here is the word agent. There is a transaction between principal to agent and agent to principal. In both ways, even though the transaction is FOC basis, then it will be called as a supply and liable to GST. But now tell me, who is an agent? Sir, the one key word is this behalf. Behalf word, a single word, define both the term principal as well as agent. You have seen already the definition of agent, because all the definitions are alphabetically arranged. Definition is a person, agent is a person who engaged in any supply of goods or services, or who works on behalf of another. Who is another? This another person is principal. So from principal point of view, who is the principal? A person. Come on the definition now. A person. Agent, a person. Principal means a person on whose behalf an agent carries on the business of supply of goods, supply of or receipt of goods or services, or both. In both the definitions, the keyword is behalf. Okay, sir. Now next definition is principal place of supply. Place of supply, principal place of supply means just like head office. It is your head office, my dear. Okay, sir ji, no issue at all. as the place as specified in registration certificate. When a taxpayer apply for registration, there is a column where he need to specify the place of supply as well as principal place of supply. Is it okay, my dear? It can be also called as principal place of business. Okay, meaning thereby your head office, or it can be called as your corporate office, which is stated by the taxpayer in the registration certificate for your information. So if an IRS officer want to visit the head office or principal place of business of a particular taxpayer, he can visit the same. That's why the person need to declare specially in the registration certificate. Is it okay, my dear? One more importance of this place is, suppose in the chapter of accounts and records, where the accounts and records are to be kept by a person. Suppose there is a head office and there are 3 branch office of a person: branch office, branch office, branch office. So the respective records shall be kept at the branch office at the respective branch. The record of second branch should be kept at respective branch, and accordingly third one also. And the all records should be kept also at the head office or principal place of the business. If you visit the head office of a particular taxpayer, then all the records must be there for your verification of all the branches. All the records must be at single place at the head office. Is it okay, my dear? Yes, sir. Keep my wordings in your mind permanently. Okay, these are most important and small things. Okay, sir. Now, principal supply. Where you have heard the word principal supply? Where the uses of this word in your GST scenario? Sir, we have seen the word composite supply. Sorry. Composite supply. And we know very well, composite supply means a bundle of multiple goods or services which fulfill the definition of P&T, 2 or more taxable supplies naturally bundled, and one of the supply is a principal supply. So how can you identify this principal supply? Principal supply means main supply. Principal supply means the supply which can represent the whole bundle with its own name. Am I right? Yes, sir. For example, in case of boarding school services, education supply is a dominant supply, predominant in nature, dominant to others, and other rest of the supply like fooding, accommodation, etc. are the ancillary supplies. The supply which has predominant element, that supply will be called as principal supply. First of all, we need this principal supply in identifying the nature of bundle, because if P&T is not satisfied, if there is no principal supply in the bundle, then the bundle will be called as a mixed supply. Moreover, the natural bundle or composite bundle will be classifiable with the name of principal supply. So one keyword is predominant in nature. The supply which has predominant element among the other supply, that supply will be called as principal supply, and rest of the supply would be ancillary supplies. Is it okay? Yes, sir. The whole detail is there. Role of principal supply, it is used in the definition of composite supply, 2 or more supply. This is the definition given of P&T. And what is principal supply? A supply which constitute predominant element of a composite supply. The keyword is predominant. For example, laptop carry case. Laptop is the predominant. Split AC and installation. AC is predominant. Goods plus transportation. Goods have predominant element among the bundle. Is it okay? Yes, sir. Avinash, Shinde, Vivek, Manjeet, Neha, Nitin, Shweta, Vaibhav and all. proper officer. Who is the proper officer? Tell me. In my studio, in my business, who is the proper person to teach you? Sir Rajkumar. Okay, I am the proper officer to teach you here. And for technical part of my classes, who is the proper officer? Mr. Sandeep Kumar is our technical head and he is the proper officer for technical parts. With respect to general assistance, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar is the proper officer for that part. Meaning thereby, the person who is assigned a particular task, for that task, the person will be the, if a person has been assigned a particular task, and tasks are assigned by CBIC in your case, if a person assigned a particular task, so for that task, this person will be the proper officer. Okay. Proper officer in relation to any function, commissioner or other officer who is assigned that function by the board, who is assigned that function. So for that function, that person, that officer will be the proper officer. Oh, great definition. Section number 92. What is the meaning of quarter, sir? The definition of quarter depend upon person to person. If we talk about quarter shall mean, you will laugh after reading this definition, but there is a great concept. Quarter shall mean a period comprising 3 consecutive calendar months. Oh, that's great, it's a great definition. 3 months period is called a quarter. Oh, really? Just see the word calendar month. First of all, we are talking about calendar month, and the second line is most important. Which 3 months are there? Sir, 3 months like month, the ending on the last day of the month of March, June, September, December of a calendar year, not financial year. Financial year start from April to and ends on March, but I am not talking about financial year. It's calendar year. Meaning thereby 3 consecutive calendar month, January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to December. Okay, sir. Sir, will you please tell me, if I count from March to May, March to April, how many quarters are there? Or say, if I count from March to July, how many quarters are there? March to July. Sir, March, April, May, June, July. Sir, one quarter is complete and another quarter is incomplete. Suppose part of the quarter will also be considered as a complete quarter. Just suppose part of a quarter shall be treated as a complete quarter. So how many quarters from March to July? Sir, March, April, May, June, July, there are 5 quarters, 5 months, and 5 months means, sir, 2 quarters. The answer is wrong. The blockage of these particular months have another sense, my dear. Listen to me very, very carefully. There is a wall in between the quarters and we cannot jump or cross the wall. What is the reason for defining this and what are the use of quarter? I will tell you with the help of an example. Are you ready? Oh yes. Come on the point. I am giving you a task. You need to solve it. Okay, sir. Suppose here is Mr. X. And he purchases a capital goods. Capital goods means machinery. Value rupees 1 lakh. Okay, sir. And the GST on the machine is 18,000. Total value is 1 lakh 18,000. ITC would be 18,000. Okay. Life of the machine is 5 years. Okay. And this was the transaction in March 2020. Okay. In the month of April 2020, the person sold out the machine. The machine are sold out by the person. Okay, sir. For rupees 70,000 only. For rupees 70,000 only. When government gives you the ITC, then there was a commitment that you will use the capital goods for whole life, but you don't follow the promise. And now tell me, after this event, whether your 18,000, a complete ITC, should be remained with Mr. X? The answer is no. Sir, whether total ITC should be reversed or not, because you do not fulfill your commitment, accordingly you have no right to retain the 18,000 of as ITC. So what to do? Sir, sometimes we have used the same, but for balance time we have not used the same. So proportionate ITC should be retained by us and balance ITC should be reversed as per our common sense. Is it okay? Yes, sir. How to reverse? We want. हमें धरने देने भी आते हैं, पता है आपको, हमने खूब धरने दे रखे हैं. We want justice. We want proportionate reversal of ITC. We want proportionate reversal of ITC, or it can be said, or alternate thereof, create a liability equal to proportionate ITC. Am I right? Is it as per your common sense? Yes, sir. How's the Josh? Sir, okay, sir. And proportionate ITC. So first of all, what to do? Now, tell me please, whether is it a goods, transaction is goods? Yes, sale of goods is equal to a goods. Is it a supply? Please answer, please. Is it a supply? Yes, sir, this is a supply. It says ABC test is fulfilled, accordingly it's a supply. Even though if there was no consideration, instead of 70,000, I put 0 at this place, even then it will be called as supply, because we know very well permanent transfer of business asset where we have taken ITC, then that will be a supply. So always it will be called as supply, even with consideration or without consideration. Intra or inter, any one of will be there, and taxable person will be Mr. X. Okay, and my dear, no exemption, and GST would be 70,000 and rate of GST was 18%, then total will be, hi sir, 70,000. ऐसा मन करता है तो मैं ना रोज 6-7 घंटे पढ़ाया करूं, पर मैं क्या करूं. 70,000 into this is 12,600. Okay, sir. So we need to reverse, and we need to pay 12,600, meaning thereby, suppose this is my balance sheet, and in balance sheet asset side my ITC was 18,000 rupees, and I have created an output liability of rupees 12,600. When we pays off this output liability, when we paid off this output liability of rupees 12,600, I will use ITC. I will use ITC to the extent of 12,600, and balance will be nil. So it can be called as and when I use the ITC, meaning thereby it is a reversal of ITC. Reversal of ITC. Your purpose has been fulfilled. Am I right? As you want in earlier situation, I have done that. Okay, sir. No issue at all. Ultimately, it is reversal of ITC. But picture abhi baki hai. Government said, yeah, it's a very low amount. This is front side. A front side. Come on the back side. Okay. Come on the back side. Government says, how much ITC you have taken with respect to the goods. This is the most important discussion, my dear, because in many of the organizations, this is a routine task. Like old machinery is scrapped or sold to the scrap dealer, or there was an fire case, accident case, and accidental machinery sold out in between, like that. It's a big area. ITC was 18,000 rupees less reversal of ITC. We want to reverse ITC. So as per law, now here is the point. As per law, as per section, exact section I would quote, section 18 subsection 6. Section 18 subsection 6 of CGST Act. Now reduce 5% per quarter or part thereof. Now reduce 5% per quarter or part thereof from above amount and see the result. We said, okay sir, no issue. What would be the amount? Will you please tell me? Sir, 5% per quarter. Okay, we are ready, 5%. But how many quarter we used the machine? How many quarter? We have purchased the machine in the month of March and we sold it in the month of April. Sincerely, it's a usage only for 1 month. Am I right? Like 10th of March and this is 10th of April. So practically this is the usage only for 1 month. But my dear, this is the definition of a quarter. And there is a wall between all the quarters. In which quarter we have purchased the machine? I have purchased the machine in this quarter, January to March quarter. This will count as 1 quarter. And we sold out the machine in April, which falls in quarter 2. Meaning thereby, I have used the machine for 2 quarters. So it's not a complete quarter. Don't worry. Section 18 subsection 6 says like 5% per quarter or part of the quarter. Part of the quarter will also be treated as a complete quarter. So 1 quarter and this is another 1 quarter. There will be 2 quarter here. So the calculation will be like this. 5% into 2 quarter, it will be 10%. 10% means is equal to 1800 rupees. And the balance will be 16,200. This is an output liability. Government said from your total ITC, just reduce the ITC with respect to your usage period. We have deducted, we have kept, we have retained the ITC with respect to our usage period, and balance amount should be paid by us. But sir, there is a problem. One liability is at output side and another one liability is at back side. Whether we need to pay both the liabilities? Oh no sir, it's a blunder. Lawmaker says, what the lawmaker says, will you please tell me? I know very well, one of the liability only be paid. So, back liability and front liability, whichever is higher to be paid by the person. In the supply box, when I was discussing the concept of supply, RBI agency, permanent transfer of business asset, Puneet asked me one query with respect to this scenario. Puneet, I think you got the answer. Whichever is higher, this is 16,200. Okay, sir. Meaning thereby, the calculation will be changed. Now, output liability will be treated as 16,200. Okay. ITC use and the liability is 16,200 and the ITC to the extent of 16,200 will be utilized and the final position will be nil, meaning thereby finally crux, your retained ITC, the ITC remained in your balance sheet is only 1800 and balance of the ITC finally reversed by the person. So I am telling you the whole concept with respect to this and where the need of quarter counting, and that's why the quarter counting is now you are able to understand the complete definition of quarter counting. Calendar years quarter will be taken, 3 consecutive quarter will be taken, and there is a fixing in quarter. A fixed quarter is January, especially stated in the law, the quarter ending on last day of month of March, June, September and December accordingly. Please thumbs up, my dear. I am waiting for your reply. Please, 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 please. Who is the recipient, sir? Who is the recipient, sir? Recipient is a person. Recipient, we have already discussed the definition of recipient, the person liable to pay consideration, and in case there is a FOC supply, then the person to whom delivery of goods is made or supply of services rendered, including the agent thereof, the person would be called as recipient. We have already discussed the same. Now, who is the registered person, sir? Registered person. Come on the point, sir. Registered person. Just decode. Registered person means, will you please tell me what is the meaning of registered person? Sir, I will tell you. Anybody? Registered person? Okay, sir. Registered person means, in registered person word first of all use in your gate number 4. Remember? Gate number 4. Taxable person is the person who is registered or required registration. So, registered person means taxable person. Taxable person. Taxable person means taxpayer. Taxpayer means the person liable to pay tax. Is it okay? Remember. Okay. Okay. This is the background for our discussion. Okay, sir, no issue. Registered person, taxable person, taxpayer, person liable to pay tax. Person liable to pay tax is a taxpayer, taxpayer is a taxable person, and taxable person is a registered person. Okay, yeah. Now come on the point. As you know very well, pre-GST what was the position and post-GST what was the position. Here is the embassy, and you know very well, my dear, in respect of embassy, there was no service tax over there pre-GST, and with respect to like Airtel giving services to the embassy, bill amount is rupees 10,000 and service tax was no service tax at all, meaning thereby no service tax on outward side and no service tax on inward supply, meaning thereby embassy bole to no service tax at all, and consequently no registration was required. Okay, sir. But post GST, what will happen? Suppose in today's scenario, Airtel giving services to an embassy. As of now, service provided by embassy not liable to GST as stated at gate number 5. Okay, sir. But as of now, if Airtel provides services to an embassy worth rupees 10,000, it was liable to GST and GST would be there. There was no GST, no service tax, no registration just because of best international practice. Best international practice worldwide, doing so all the countries. But what is this, sir? We are going against best international practice? The answer is no. Then what to do like this? Sir, Airtel would pay GST to the government rupees 1,800 and embassy will claim the refund of 1,800. Okay, sir. Sir, if government wish to give refund, then why to collect GST? Only for one purpose, control. After giving refund, position was nullified as, or we can say like position was just like that as pre-GST. Okay, sir. Just government want to control, the objective of this only like this. Now, for refund purpose, whether embassy need registration, say yes. Whether embassy need registration, yeah. Without registration you can give refund to the embassy. without any identity of the embassy, how can you give the refund to the embassy? No, sir. And it is the obligation of, it is the duty and it is the task of assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner. Sir, listen to me. Refund, all type of refund processes are done by you, are completed by you. Okay, sir. Yeah, need registration. Need registration, and its registration is called unique identification number, UIN, unique identification number. So finally concluded, embassy need a registration. But please tell me, embassy is registered, but whether we can call it as a registered person, yes or no? Whether we can call embassy as a registered person, yes or no? Just see the definition of registered person. Registered person is a taxable person, means the person who is liable to pay tax. Whereas embassy not liable to pay any tax. He is required registration just for refund purposes. So he is not he is not liable to pay any tax. That's why embassy would not be covered under the definition of registered person. प्रेम से बोलेंगे राधे राधे. Is it okay, my dear? Sir, yes sir. Okay, done. So embassy has unique identification number but will not be called as registered person. Now come on the point. Here is the definition of registered person: who is registered under section 25, that is at the moment registration is granted to the person who is registered under section 25. Registration requirement can be of two types, like one is mandatory registration and another one is when the person cross the limit of 20 lakh, 10 lakh or 40 lakh as the case may be. That's great. Okay, excluding the person who is registered under section 25, that means the person liable to pay GST, and excluding the person having UIN and it is awarded to United Nations, international organization, WTO, WHO, UNESCO, UNIDO, like that. Around 20 plus international organizations are there, and embassy, etc. Why to get UIN? Just for certain purpose, that means refund purposes. Okay, sir? Yeah. Regulations. I have already discussed the regulations. First of all, Act, after that rules, and after that regulations. Regulations are framed to support the provisions of rules and the Act. If there is a contradiction between the rules and regulations, rules will prevail, and if there is a contradiction between the Act and the regulations, Act will prevail. You need all these definitions in your practical life when you are interpreting a particular section or rules, etc. Oh, our next small and cute definition, just like you, is removal. Can you tell me where we use the word removal? Under which provision the word removal needed? Sir, we know very well, in case of invoicing, the last date of issue of invoice with respect to goods is the date of removal, sir. And accordingly, sir, the removal date will become the time of supply also. So, first of all, this word is relevant for invoicing purpose and time of supply purpose. Is it okay? Say thanks to Baba ki booty. Each and everything is known by you ki which provision comes after which. Okay, sir. But removal has two types. If you wish, I am the supplier and you are the seller, and you came to my premises and collect your goods and go away, then it is also a removal of goods, and it's a removal. Removal can be two types. First one is collection and second one is dispatching. So when you came to my premises and collect the goods to yourself and go away, then this is called as collection. The goods was removed but in form of collection. You not come to my premises but I dispatch the goods to your premises. In such a case, there are removal of goods but in the form of dispatch. Okay, sir. Removal means dispatch or collection as the case may be. Dispatch of the goods for delivery of the supplier or by any other person acting on behalf of the supplier, who is acting on behalf wherever you see the word behalf, you should understand we are talking about an agent. Collection of the goods, when recipient come to our premises and collect the goods, this is also a form of the removal, which is called as collection of the goods. Okay, yo. Now, what is return? Tell me, whether GSTR1 can be called as return? No, sir. It's a statement, not a return. GSTR2 can be called as return? Sir, it's a statement of inward supply. It cannot be called as return. GSTR3 or can be called as return? Yes. What about GSTR3B? I have discussed this point in detail. Like GSTR3B is the replacement of GSTR3. Whenever GSTR3 will come into existence, then that will be prospectively, not retrospectively, because as of now we are filing GSTR3B, and which has the status of return. The 3 and 3B is called as return. Return, what is the frequency of this form? So the frequency of this form is monthly. So the return is filed on monthly frequency. But in case of composite dealer, you know very well, return are filed on quarterly basis. Who will tell me what is the form of, what is the quarterly periodical return form for composite dealer? Who will give the right answer? First, I will give the Paytm of rupees 10. I will give the Paytm of rupees 10. I repeat my question. In case of composite dealer, quarterly returns are filed. So, what is the form for quarterly return? The answer is GST CMP 08. This is the return form for composite dealer. GSTR 1 to 11, that is all form are called return. No, this statement is not true. All form are not called as return. This is not a return. This is not return. But periodical return GSTR 3 or 3B is called as return, my dear. Is it okay? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is called as return. This is for casual taxable person. This is for non-resident. GSTR 6 for input service distributor. First answer given by Sweta Shuman, GST CMP 08. Sweta, you won the prize of rupees 10 Paytm. Yo, enjoy, have party. And Nupur, Anukriti, Atul, everybody. Nahi, Puneet, GSTR 4 now statement, annual statement. Earlier GSTR 4 was the quarterly return for composite dealers, but as of now, after amendment just before 8 months ago, as of now GSTR 4 is a statement which is filed quarterly basis by the composite dealers. Okay, TDS return, TCS return, annual return, first return, and this is UIN holder return as GSTR 11. Okay, sir. Now the definition is of reverse charge mechanism. Sir, there are 3 persons who liable to pay GST. One mechanism is called NCM, another mechanism is called RCM, and third mechanism is called neither NCM nor RCM. प्रेम से बोलेंगे राधे राधे. Neither RCM nor NCM. Okay, sir, NCM means where supplier liable to pay GST and require registration. RCM means where recipient liable to pay GST and require registration. And what is the example? For neither NCM nor RCM? One example only, my dear, and it is import of goods. Import of goods is covered by custom law, levy and collection of IGST with respect to import of goods completed or done by Custom Tariff Act 1975 Section 3 Subsection 7. So in custom there is no reference of NCM or RCM. Okay, yes sir. And one more example I can give you with respect to neither NCM nor RCM, which will be in e-commerce operator. I will discuss e-commerce operator later on, but this is also a case of neither NCM nor RCM. In the next class, we will definitely discuss this concept, e-commerce operator, Flipkart, Amazon. What is the GST structure with respect to all these? Is it okay? Yes, sir. Come on the point, my dear. What are the specialties? If we are talks about RCM, then tell me what are the specialties with respect to reverse charge, sir. In case of reverse charge, first of all, see as per Baba ki booty, gist of GST. Sir, reverse charge is applicable only on notified supplies of services as well as goods. There is no difference whether the supply is intra or inter, and sir, recipient is a taxable person and require mandatory registration. And sir, valuation, there is no difference between NCM RCM with respect to valuation system. And sir, tax paid under reverse charge mechanism is our input tax, and for the payment of this input tax we cannot utilize our earlier ITC. These are the specialties with respect to reverse charge mechanism. Prem se bolenge radhe radhe. All these things are available here. Mandatory registration and no limit of 10 lakh, 20 lakh, and recipient cannot use ITC for this purpose. Now, one more thing is revisional authority. Who is the revisional authority? We will discuss this authority in the chapter of appeal. But still, I would like to show you what is the role of revisionary authority. Okay? Suppose here is a demand order passed by the officer. Demand order passed by Chaudhary Sahab, Atul Chaudhary. Demand order passed by Atul Chaudhary, which is also called as OIO, order in original. Okay, sir. Now, whether any appeal can be filed against this order? Yes. And the first appellate authority is called appellate authority. In income tax, it is called as CIT appeal, Commissioner of Income Tax appeal. And second appeal goes to GST appellate tribunal, and third one to High Court, and after that finally Supreme Court. Okay. Who will go for appeal? Sir, taxpayer will go for appeal. That's great. You are really genius. A taxpayer will go for appeal within a period of 3 months plus 1 month extension in deserving cases, just like Corona. And after that, this High Court, Supreme Court, and so on. Whether department can also go for appeal. Suppose Mr. Atul Chaudhary is the assistant commissioner, and one of the senior officer, joint commissioner or commissioner, find out that demand order passed by Mr. Atul Chaudhary is not legal and proper. There is a question mark about the legality and propriety of the order passed by Atul Chaudhary, which is prejudicial to the interest of revenue. रिश्वत ले ली होगी थोड़ी बहुत, करने नहीं चाहिए ऐसे काम. Okay, sir. So now what to do? Now commissioner or joint commissioner, meaning thereby senior officer, instruct any other officer to file a departmental appeal against the order passed by Mr. Atul Chaudhary. Oh yes, taxpayer can go for appeal. Moreover, departmental appeal can also be filed. First of all, senior officer will take a review. After review, if the senior officer is satisfied that the order passed by the junior officer is not legal and proper, then the senior officer direct that the appeal should be filed to the appellate authority. Okay. Suppose my dear, and the period of 6 months to file an appeal. Okay, sir, no issue. But suppose senior officer was busy in another works, have lots of work pressure, and 6 month period expired, and moreover the order passed by the Assistant Commissioner Mr. Atul is not legal and proper. Now the department, what will department do in such a case? Because now it become time barred. Now it become time barred because senior officer was busy in another activities. So there is a patli gali. Oh, one is a revisionary authority. Department, if there is a period of 6 months has been expired, the department can go for revisional authority, which is equivalent to appellate authority. Okay, sir. Department, only department can go for revision authority after 6 months, but before a period of 3 months. 6 months from where? From demand order, from the date of demand order. Okay. After when the time limit to go with appellate authority expires, then the department has another way to file a departmental appeal against the junior officer through revisionary authority. Revisionary authority can increase the demand, can decrease the demand, or may confirm the demand, may do anything. If any of the party, either department or the taxpayer, is not satisfied with the order passed by the revisionary authority, where to file an appeal? Will you please tell me? Where to file an appeal against the order passed by revisional authority? Sir, as I have told you earlier, like it is equivalent to appellate authority. So appeal can be made only to higher authority, not to equivalent authority. So the appeal against the order of revisional authority will goes to GST appellate tribunal. प्रेम से बोलेंगे राधे राधे. Is it okay, my dear? Have you understood what is the role of revisionary authority? Yes or no? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now come on the book. Revision authority. Authority appointed or authorized for revision of the decision or order. Decision or order means order in original. Okay. An authority empowers to pass, to modify an order in original. However, cannot entertain non-appealable orders. Some of the orders which are non-appealable, nobody can file an appeal with respect to that matters. In totality, there are 4 matters on which no means no. Have you seen movie Pink? I have seen. The one of the dialogue is no means sirf no. So here the no means only no. Okay, sir. So there are only 4 matters against which nobody can file an appeal, neither department nor taxpayer. And for example, like charge transfer. For example, like charge transfer. Suppose Atul Chaudhary was engaged in a case of Mr. X and senior officer or board transfer his charge from X to Y, and the case of Mr. X given to Shweta. Whether Atul can file an appeal against the order, against this order? The answer is no, my dear. So this is the provision, charge transfer. And second, we can say like payment made in installment. In some of the situations where the financial position of the taxpayer is not good, Commissioner has the power to allow the taxpayer to make payment in installment, and maximum installment can be 24 there. Okay, sir. Whether the taxpayer can challenge the order that like I want 36 installment, the answer is no. Maximum 24 is maximum. Suppose in a case Commissioner allow the assessee to pay the balance dues in 10 installment, whether the taxpayer can file an appeal against this order. Just I want 24 installment instead of 10. The answer is no. This is non-appealable matter. So in totality, there are 4 kind of orders which are non-appealable. Okay, sir. Now come on the schedule. In entire GST, there are 3 schedules only. Puneet, you have learned the name of all the schedules. Tell me, what is the content of Schedule 1, Schedule 2 and Schedule 3? Schedule 1 is RBI agency, talks about FOC supplies. All the 4 points are given under Schedule number 1. Second point, whether a supply is a supply of goods or services, the clarifications are given in Schedule number 2. Like ownership transfer, then supply will be treated as a supply of goods. And Schedule 3 talks about new magic. Negative list of supplies are given under your Schedule 3. And you have learned and you have studied all the 3 schedules at your box number 2, my dear. Okay, sir. Now come on. Yay! Century! Yes! I have done it. 101 security. Celebrate. It's celebration time. Shweta, Anukriti and Atul, Kumar, Vivek, Puneet. Yeah. Security. So security, as we know that security neither goods and neither services, not services. And what is the meaning of security, sir? Security means shares, debentures, debenture stock, mutual fund units, government securities and all. You know very well about all that. And what is the role of security in your GST? At gate number 1. Security neither goods nor services, and activities with respect to securities would be called as service and liable to GST. Prem se bolenge Radhe Radhe. Now come on, the definition of service. We have already covered this definition. Okay, sir. While discussing Baba ki booty, anything other than goods will be called as service. Money and security will be nothing, but includes activities relating to use of money, etc. The activities with respect to money will be called as supply of services. Money or its conversion by cash or any other mode from one form. From one form, one currency, one denomination. What kind of activity that can be happened with respect to money? From one form, currency, denomination to another form, currency or denomination. Means denomination change, currency change and form change. Will you give example of all the 3? Yes, sir. So form change means like we have given the check to bank and bank gives us DD. It's just money to money, but form has been changed. So currency change means we are giving Indian rupees to a forex dealer and the forex dealer gives us dollar. This currency change. And denomination change means, sir, we have given the note of rupees 2000 and want change of rupees 2000 like 10 rupees each. This is the change of rupees 10. So any commission or charge taken for this kind of conversion would be treated as a service and liable to GST. Okay. State. I have already discussed the state. Deemed estate and real estates. State tax means SGST. And what is the supplier? Who is the player? Who play will be called as player. Who is engaged in manufacturing? The person is called a manufacturer. Who is engaged in teaching? The person is called teacher. So accordingly, who is supplier? The person who is engaged in supply will be called as supplier. Whether it is necessary to be called as a supplier, whether it is necessary that the person should be registered under GST law? So the answer is no. It's no requirement. The person who is engaged in supply will be called as a supplier and also includes agent thereof. So simple definition, my dear. Either registered or not, even taxable person or not. Simple meaning like this, my dear. The person engaged in supply of goods or services will be called as supplier. Okay. Now, tax period. Tax period means the period for which we are required to file return, like monthly or quarterly. or we can say tax period, the period for which we are required to pay tax. We are not required to pay tax on daily basis. This is today's my survey, this is my collection, I am required to pay tax today itself. Like, no. It's a block of 1 month or a quarter. Composite dealer liable to pay GST on quarterly frequency, whereas another person liable to pay GST at the rate of a monthly frequency. प्रेम से बोलेंगे राधे राधे. Taxable person, taxable person is a person who is registered or required registration under section, who is registered and required or liable to be registration under section 22 or section 24. What is the content of section 22? Section 22 says the person required registration after crossing the limit of 20 lakh, 10 lakh, 20 lakh or 40 lakh, and section 24 talks about mandatory registration. For example, interstate taxable supply of goods, casual taxable person, non-resident, and so on. And the person paying tax under reverse charge mechanism, all these are persons require mandatory registration under section 24. Okay. Now, what is one more thing? There are two words. Listen to me carefully. There are two words. The person liable to registration. Okay. After 10, 20 or 40 or mandatory registration. But what is the meaning of these wordings? Who is registered? It is Pedaishi registered? No, sir. One of the person who is required registration. And who is this person? Who is registered? Oh, I would like to tell you, there is a concept of voluntary registration in your GST law. Voluntary registration. Even though a person falls under 10 lakh, 20 lakh or 40 lakh, even then he can get registration on voluntary basis. And suppose Mr. X takes voluntary registration having turnover of Rs 2 lakh only, whether the person liable to pay GST? Yes, sir. As and when the person takes registration, even it is voluntarily, then the person will be called as taxable person, and taxable person is called as taxpayer, or taxpayer is called the person liable to pay tax. Then the person would be liable to pay tax, and accordingly he would avail the ITC thereof. Registration is just like marriage, and this is what? So this is Bal Vivah. He is not required, he was not eligible for the registration, but he voluntarily wished to, Mummy, main bhi karwaunga, main bhi, okay, beta, do that. Now taxable supply, Atul. Now taxable supply already covered. This point has already been covered. Taxable supply of goods. First of all, there should be a goods or services. After that, there must be supply, and the supply should be liable to GST. The supply will be called as taxable supply. Taxable territory, already covered. The territory to which the particular GST Act is applicable, that area would be called as taxable territory. Telecommunication, we will put on hold this definition. As State GST Act 2017 and multiple states have respective state act. Turnover in the state. Will you please tell me what is the use of turnover in the state? State. In simple wordings, turnover in the state is a replica. It's a replica of aggregate turnover, but limited to state and not as all over India basis. How? Come on the point, Radhe. You know very well, when we talks about aggregate turnover, having business of Mr. X having its own PAN, and on the basis of this PAN, he has business in multiple states, say in UP, say in Haryana, say in Punjab. Okay. And there are 3 business places. Here is the 2 business places, and here is 1 business places. And 5 lakh, 10 lakh, and here is the 20 lakh. Okay, sir. Will you please tell me what is the aggregate turnover? Sir. And what is the turnover within the state? Okay. There are multiple levels. This is the All India level. This is All India level. It is state level. My dear. and it is premises label. There is no use of premises label in this scenario. Aggregate turnover calculated on pan India basis, and state level turnover is for UP is 15 lakhs and Haryana is 20 lakh, and accordingly Punjab is 20 lakh. Okay, yes sir, it is okay, it's okay. Now what would be the aggregate turnover when we making clubbing on the basis of all India? Then it will be 15, 20 and 20, 40, 55 lakh is the aggregate turnover within the case, and state level turnover is 15, 20 and this. We will take all outward supply, whether the supply is taxable, exempted and zero rated. Is it okay? All outward supply would be considered and no inward supply, even though the supply is made under reverse charge mechanism, would be considered. Is it okay? Yes. And the value of all the supplies would be exclusive of all taxes. Yo. So this is the state level. And what is the use of state level turnover, sir? In case of return chapter, when you would levy late fee with respect to annual return, the provision is this as per section, like 100 rupees per day or 100 rupees per day, or tell me IRS Vivek Kumar, IRS Nupur, tell me 100 rupees per day late fee for filing annual return, 100 rupees per day, but max to max it can be goes up to what? Sir, it can be goes up to Ambrish says, sir, Atul Chaudhary should be punished for issuing an illegal or improper order. Okay, I will do something for that. So, in filing of late fee 100 rupees per day, but it can goes up to 0.25% of turnover in a state. Is it okay? Yes. No. 5,000 was the limit for your periodical return as per law, as per section 100 rupees, but that can be reduced to 25 or 10 per day, and maximum was 5,000 with respect to periodic return, but with respect to annual return this was the position 100 rupees per day or 0.25% of turnover in a state. If we talks about UP, then 0.25% of 15 lakh, and if we talks about Haryana, then 0.25% of 20 lakh, and so on. Is it okay? Yes sir. Come on the point. Aggregate turnover turnover in the state or UT means the aggregate value of all taxable supply excluding the value inward. No inward supply would be taken. Just I'm saying you like it, just like replica of aggregate turnover. All the things which should be added or which should not be added will be just like aggregate turnover, but limited it only to a particular state. Okay, that's it. And all kind of taxes would be excluded, and all kind of supply either exempted, export supplies is called as zero rated supply. Is it okay? Yes sir. And ITC with respect to thereof is allowed to the taxable person. Okay. Now, usual place of residence already covered, where the person ordinarily resides. Union territory already covered in the definition, UT GST Act. Okay. Now, valid return. Valid return was a return. Suppose this is the month of January, and the person liable to pay GST on 20th of next month, like 20th February, which is my marriage anniversary date. 20th February liable to pay GST. Okay sir. And on this date the person required to file his GST return. Is it okay? Yeah. GSTR 3 or 3B as the case may be. If a person files his GST at 3 or 3B without paying GST, whether the return will be valid return or invalid, that return would be called as invalid return. And one means, for being a valid return, GST with respect to that return should be paid first, after that file the return, then the return will be called as a valid return. Okay sir ji, no issue. And one more thing I would like to tell you. Here is the supplier and here is the recipient. Supplier did not file his valid return. Supplier did not file his valid return, meaning thereby he has not deposited the GST. He has not deposited the GST to the government. Okay sir. Okay sir. Whether corresponding ITC would be available to the person, yes or no? Because we know that output tax is equivalent to the ITC. If the supplier do not pay his output tax, then the ITC of the recipient would get denied. No ITC. ITC should not be allowed. However, there is a latest amendment in rule number 36 of CGST rule. First, there was a provision of 20% and now fresh amended provision of 10%, my dear. What is the provision of 20% of 10%? I will discuss in detail in that chapter ITC. To some extent, he would be allowed because recipient has no mistake. He is doing his work properly and paying his tax properly, and another person do not paying tax. Why the punishment should be allowed to recipient? If supplier don't pay GST, why the credit of recipient should be denied? It's injustice. Please tell me, you are government representative. You are from government department. Tell me please, is it injustice or not? You have so many powers to collect GST from the supplier. Am I right? You have so many powers. When you have the power to collect GST from this person, and in case this person is not, and in case this person is not paid GST, why will you punish recipient for not allowing ITC to the recipient? Is it injustice or not? Please tell me. Is it injustice or not? If it is injustice, then we want justice. We want justice. Me and all of you will try to allow justice with the taxpayer. Okay, sir. Now come on the point. Valid return is okay. And voucher. What is the meaning of voucher? Voucher means like food coupons, promo code, and vouchers are used in place of money to purchase any goods or services. Am I right? Vouchers are food coupons, promo codes, have certain value in itself. Whether such kind of voucher can be called as actionable claim? No way. Actionable claim have some contingency, yaar. And in food coupons, voucher, etc., there is no contingency. It is definite value against which we can buy some goods or services. And it is used in place of money. It is used in place of money, my dear. Is it okay? Now take an example with respect to voucher, a complete case study, so that you are able to understand what I am trying to say you. Okay, sir. Suppose here is Haldiram. Here is Haldiram. And here is HCL. SCL. And here is the employee of HCL. In the month of November 2020, HCL purchased some food voucher. HCL purchased food voucher. Food voucher from Haldiram, like 200 vouchers for free distribution to his employee on the occasion of New Year. Okay. Free distribution. Each worth rupees 500. Each worth rupees 500 for lunch plate, deluxe plate. Okay, sir. in the month, this was purchased in the month of November. On 1st January 2020, oh, it's not 20, it is 2019. And on 1st January 2020, employees redeemed the voucher, that is ate food and give voucher in place of money, okay, as consideration, use as consideration. Okay sir, no issue. Now link this activity. First of all, whether any GST would be there on free distribution, it can be called as gift. Yes or no? Yeah sir, these are the gift. And any gift are given by employer to employee would be treated as supply or not? Any gift given by employer to employee would be called as supply or not? Sir, there is a provision. The provision is this: if employer gives gifts to an employee up to rupees 50,000 in a financial year, up to 50,000 in a financial year, then it is not a supply. But if the value of gift exceeds rupees 50,000 in a financial year to each employee, it would be considered as supply. This is the exact provision with respect to gift to employee. If the value of gift to each employee is up to 50,000 rupees in a financial year, then there will be no supply. But if the value of gift exceed rupees 50,000, then the whole value will be called as a supply and liable to GST. So in such a case, there will be no question of GST at all. Okay sir. Now what is the supply in your hand? Sir, the supply is a supply of food. The supply of food, sir. Supply of food. Just think from the angle of Haldiram. It's a supply of food, yes. Whether here we are talking about goods or services. So this is can be called as catering service, supply of food, etc. And we know that restaurant service, catering services are called as a service. So here is a service. Supplier is Haldiram. Okay sir. And service, is it a supply? Yes sir, this is a supply because ABC test for this: activity, business and consideration. Yeah, all the three ABC are tested. Is it intra or inter? Okay, we will see that. Who is the taxable person? Taxable person is Haldiram. Okay. And as an exemption, no exemption. Whether GST liable to pay? Yeah, liable to pay GST, sir. Okay. And the value would be like 500 of each voucher value, and total number of voucher was 200. Okay sir. And rate of GST, sir, rate of GST on food was 5%. On food, rate of GST was 5%. And accordingly, just tell me please one thing: what is the time of supply in this case? This is my question. This is a special discussion. This is a specific point with respect to voucher. Nothing special, each and everything is normal, but there is a different provision with respect to time of supply. I am just asking, what will be the time of supply in the present case? The date of issue of voucher. The voucher was issued on November 19 and the voucher was redeemed by the employee on January 2020. What will be the time of supply in this case? Tell me. Sir, government make a provision that the time of supply with respect to the supply will be the date of issue. Lawmaker said date of issue. Date of issue would be the time of supply, meaning thereby November, and on 20th December the person liable to pay GST. Okay, but my dear, suppose this was a specific coupon. This was a specific coupon because it was clearly stated in the coupon that by giving this coupon you can buy a lunch plate, deluxe lunch plate. There is a specific supply against this coupon. Tell me please, what will happen if the coupon was in general nature? Meaning thereby, suppose there is a coupon against which we can purchase sweets from the Haldiram. We can also buy food plates from the Haldiram, and we can also buy namkeen from the Haldiram. We can buy multiple things, multiple items, and which has multiple rate of GST. What will happen if coupon is a general coupon? If coupon is a general coupon, then what would happen? Coupon that is can buy North Indian thali, sir. North Indian thali. Can buy food, can buy namkeen, can buy sweets, and each and everything is different rate. Suppose it's 5%, it is 18%, suppose it is 12%. Some of the employee will buy sweets, some of the employee will buy food, some of the employee will buy namkeen. So in such a case, what would be the time of supply? Here in this case, whether lawmaker can make a provision like this कि time of supply will be the date of issue of the voucher? Yes or no? The answer is no. Because if we said the date of issue would be the time of supply, means GST to be calculated on this date, and on this date for calculation GST we don't know what exactly be supplied against this coupon and what will be the rate of GST. You will take 5%, you will take 18%, or you will take 12%. You don't know nothing at this moment, so you will have to wait till redemption of the voucher. You will have to wait till the redemption of voucher to what is actually supplied against this voucher. Whenever the voucher was specific, you never ever कि this thing, only this item can be bought against this coupon. So there was no issue. In that case, the date of issue was the time of supply. But in case where there is a general voucher, multiple things can be purchased against that. So at the time of issue, we don't know what is the rate of GST. So we will have to wait till redemption of voucher, and whatever actually supplied rate of that commodity will be there. So time of supply will be the redemption date. Redemption date would be the time of supply. Then overall crux is what, my dear? Final crux is what with respect to voucher? Number one, voucher are used as a consideration in place of money. Number two, if there is a specific voucher, then date of issue would be the time of supply. And third point is this: if there is a general voucher, then date of redemption of the voucher would be the time of supply. There are three important terms with respect to voucher. Is it okay? Give me a thumbs up. राज कचौड़ी ले लेंगे हम तो. राज कचौड़ी मैं बोलने वाला था, राज कचौड़ी, पर पता नहीं कैसे दिमाग से निकल गया. Unknown nature date wise when it is redeemed. Great Avinash Shinde, you are genius, super. कतई जहर. Come on the point. And here is the voucher discussion. And I said to the recipient, coupon, pass code, promo code, it is an instrument which is accepted as a part of the consideration and so and so. And time of supply was if a specific coupon, then time of supply was issue date, if general coupon, then time of supply was redemption date. Okay, yo. Yes, sir. Oh. Now we are going to discuss works contract. We have already discussed this point, works contract. Theka, works contract. There are two elements in this definition. First one is there should be a combined supply of goods as well as services at a single price. Is it okay? And second most important condition was the resultant property should be an immovable property. If both the conditions are satisfied, then the contract will be called as works contract, and as per schedule 2 as given in box number 2, supply, works contract will be treated as a supply of service. Okay, so here is the point: goods or services, single price, which will be classified as a service but limited to immovable property only. What about goods plus services, single price, and resultant property is an immovable property? Then what? I have given the example of car, headlight was broken and light money, which was the bulb of the headlight, was rupees 8,000, and the repair with respect to that bulb was 4,000, and the total price was 12,000. If the total price was charged by the person authorized service station, then whether the supply can be called as works contract? The answer is no. Then what will be the supply? So it will be called as depend upon the nature, which is the most important element in that supply. So here is the points. Any definition? Oh, any other definition with any other word which is not defined here can be borrowed from other acts: IGST Act, UTGST Act, Cess Act, Compensation Cess Act, and so on, my dear. Now I have completed all the 120 definitions given under your CGST Act. Now I would like to move on definitions under IGST Act. It will take around 1 hour, and all the balance definition will take only 1 hour to be discussed. Only 25, even actually 23 definitions are there, and after that our Baba Ki Booty discussion will be started. Okay, sir. Now come on the IGST definitions. So simple definitions, believe me. First definition is CGST Act. What is the meaning of CGST Act? Means CGST 2017. Central tax means CGST. First, second, and third word, put it on hold. Continuous journey. I will discuss this definition with the chapter place of supply. Okay. Oh, now come on the most important definition, custom frontier of India. First of all, we need to understand what is custom frontier of India. Anshuman Raj says, sir, chatti. No. Himanshu said, sir, break. Okay. Let's have break of 15 minutes. Kit Kat break. Okay, sir. Break. Tea break.